WAHHR, Alabama Hip Hop Radio, online worldwide, with the dopest radio station on the planet. A new way to listen.
Hi, I am Ty Burton, also known as Chocolate Ty, and this is City Unplugged, where your voice is amplified. And today I have City of Prichard mayoral candidate Miss Carletta Davis. Hi, how are you?
Hello, thank you for having me.
I have gotten so many inboxes, DMs, things asking about you.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
People were very impressed with your performance at the forum.
Oh, wow. Well, I hope they saw that I really care about the city, most of all.
Well, I saw that you were very prepared. So that was impressive to me. But we're going to dig right in today.
Okay, sounds good.
And so first, let's start at the beginning.
Okay.
Tell us about where you grew up and tell us about who your people are.
All right. So I actually am a native of Prichard. I grew up in Whistler off of Watson Avenue. I went to Whistler Elementary School and then graduated from C.F. Iger High School. I actually lived in District 3 as well before I moved to District 1. So I am born and raised in Prichard. My grandmother and great-grandfather actually were from Prichard, from the Whistler area. Went to church in Whistler at 3rd Baptist, my grandmother at Mount Sinai. And so I have very deep roots in the city of Prichard.
That's right. So you're a daughter of Prichard.
I am a daughter of Prichard.
And a graduate of C.F. Iger High School.
The C.F. Iger High School, yes.
Okay. And what inspired you to run for mayor of Prichard?
What really inspired me is I keep hearing the potential of Prichard. Prichard has so much potential. And we just cannot be the city of perpetual potential. We need to see that potential realized. And as I advocate for the city around the country, I just know that there are so many opportunities that can be had if we had the right leadership. And the right relationships. And so I'm running because I feel that I can bring those things to the table to see the potential of Prichard actually realized.
Was there a moment where you said enough is enough, and that I have to do something about it?
I think that moment came from me when the water board situation started back in 2023. I actually fight for environmental justice on my day job. That's kind of what I do. And prior to becoming the executive director for We Matter, which probably everybody knows me for, I actually worked for the federal government. I was a consultant, a NEPA consultant for the federal government, which
what is NEPA? Because we don't know.
It is the National Environmental Protection Act, right? And so whenever there is any type of building that goes on or federal contracts that come about and there is some disruption in a community, we have to make sure that that impact to the community is made equally among all people, right? Okay. And so what my job was as a NEPA consultant was to make sure that, one, I educated the community on what the project was, and then to hear from the community as to what potential impacts that they felt would be made by the project coming into their community. And so I did all of that prior to deciding to run for mayor. And so whenever the water crisis happened, it just really hit hard for me that the policy and the politics of our community was not protecting our community in the way that it should. And so I just said, well, at this point, I feel that I need to step up and try to help out.
Very good. What do you believe makes you the most qualified person to lead Prichard at this time?
I think at this time what Prichard needs is the genuineness of someone that has been there, done that, who grew up there, who has the the love, the intrinsic knowledge of the community. And I think that Prichard needs someone that has the network that can bring in the resources that are needed in order to move the city forward. And so I just feel that right now at this time that I can do that.
Good to know. So now let's get into your platform and vision, okay? What is your overall vision for Prichard? And if you could sum up your administration's mission in one sentence, what would it be? And you have room on the sentence.
I want to see our community move from surviving to thriving. Okay? We are known as the City of Champions. We were born to win. And we have not been winning. And so I want to move to the winner's circle.
Moving Prichard back to the winner's circle. I can see that. So, I've seen your plan. Yours is the only plan that I've seen so far. So, I've seen your plan, and let's talk about Champion Park.
Mm-hmm.
And what are your plans for the space, and how does that tie into your broader environmental or recreational goals for the city?
Well, I tell everybody our city environmentally is a beautiful space. We have 2 beautiful creeks that run through our community that our community don't even have access to. You know, and I know that there are fishermen in our community that would love to fish in those creeks. I know that there are kayakers in our community that would love to kayak in those creeks. And historically, it used to be the swimming hole of the city. So people would actually come to Prichard to go and swim in our creeks. And so I want to be able to see those things and those assets come back online for the citizens of Prichard. With Champions Park, that park actually came about through meetings that we had with our community, not just the adults, but the children.
Oh.
And they told us what they wanted to see in Champions Park. We had Viger ambassadors come over. We talked with the students over at Chastain Middle School. And so we actually devised that plan with the community. It's not actually just my vision. It is actually a community vision. We had council people coming over and church members. And so it's a beautiful plan. It's a 34-acre park that would be located in the northern part of the city off of 158. But I want to say something, because somebody said, well, they're always doing things up in the northern part of the city, up in the 8 Mile area. I want people to know that I am focused on every inch of Prichard, okay? And the creeks run through all of Prichard. So that would be the beginning part. That part would be the beginning part of a blueway that would go through Prichard. And we will also have a greenway. So blueway is how you navigate along water, right? Okay. A greenway is on land. And so, we're going to look at how do we connect all of Prichard through the greenway and the blueway.
So Prichard is big.
It is.
So with a blueway or with a greenway, you could connect 8 Mile to the inner city?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We actually have a railway that connects from the lower part of Prichard to the northern part of Prichard. That is not being used right now.
I did not know that. I didn't know that there was white sand beaches in Prichard either, though.
And there is. And a lot of people don't know that.
Very good. We know Prichard has a unique natural landscape, including a creek system and green spaces. Why is protecting and enhancing that environment so important to the city's future?
Well, let me be clear. We have protected that area just by not using it, okay? We need to enhance the area by going in and making sure that any invasive species and things of that nature is not there. But we also need to protect it because, again, it could be a source of water for our community. We used to source our water that we drink out of 8 Mile Creek.
What?
Yes. In 1997, there was a consent decree, a consent order. And what a consent order basically is the ADEM, Alabama Department of Environmental Management, says you have to do something. It's almost like a court order. Okay. Well, in that consent decree, they made Prichard water come out of 8 Mile Creek due to the testing that they did, and where they found fecal coliform, or a form of bacteria in the water. Okay, so we used to drink out of our creek. So it is vitally important that we protect our waters. Again, that could be a source for water and a source for food.
Wow.
Right? People eat the fish there, right? So it is important for us to make sure that not only are we enhancing those assets, but we are also protecting them.
Learn something new every single day. There's been talk of a grant from the EPA. And can you speak to the grant, what it means for Prichard, how it can be used, and what your administration would do to ensure those funds are used transparently and effectively?
Again, the EPA grant that we did receive, we were the first in the nation to receive the Equitable Technical Assistance Grant.
Okay, so who is we?
So our organization, We Matter, that I'm the president of, received that grant. It was a $500,000 grant in technical assistance that was given to our organization and our community to develop out the plan for Champions Park. So we got engineering done. We had the ecological studies done. We had all of the appraisals done. We had all of the things done to the property that you would need in order to make it shovel ready. Okay. So at this point, we need the implementation dollars. And I know that people have heard about the fact that President Trump has kind of frozen some of the funds that President Biden had allotted for projects such as this. The good news is that we actually have the project, right? So the project is, so even if we don't get the funds from the implementations from funds from the Trump administration, we can get it from another source because we actually have that project, which is what we plan to do.
Okay, so that's something that you worked on before you decided.
Oh yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Yes, we were working on that well before we decided to run for mayor.
Let's move into accountability and transparency. Okay. So during the first term of the current administration, there were allegations of missing funds tied to the administration's office. At that time, you had opponents that were serving on the city council. There was no action or accountability seemed to follow from the first one. Then again, during the second terms, questions arose around the disappearance or mismanagement of funds also connected to the mayor's office. And to this day, the public has received no clear explanation. As someone now seeking to lead this city, how do you plan to address this lack of transparency and restore public trust in City Hall?
Wow, that's a loaded question.
So, just so everybody know, that's a combination of many of the questions that we have gotten, and I hate to put you on the spot, but the people want to know.
Okay. Well, first of all, my background is in banking, and so I think that I will bring to the table that financial knowledge to be able to put in place internal controls, checks and balances, watching the watcher, to make sure that we don't have those types of mismanagement and malfeasance occurrences. Okay, that's number one. Number two, trust is the thing that you have to have in any relationship, right? And the fact that the trust between our government and the citizens, the trust between our government and other external partners is broken, has caused us not to grow. It's caused us to be stagnated. We have to restore the trust. The way that you do that is by being open and honest. One of the first things that I will do in a Davis administration is do a forensic financial audit to show where we truly are financially.
So if you don't know, a forensic audit means that they're going to make the math.
Right.
Right?
That's right.
So it lets us know where we are, but it also lets us know where we've been to, right?
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct. I think that is the only way that we, first of all, can move forward. Okay? We need to know where we truly are. I will make that forensic audit public. There will be no question. It will be public.
Okay.
Secondly, I think that whenever there are funds that come into our city, the community needs to know that we're going after grant funding and what we're going to do and why we're going after the grant funding. When you talk about accountability, that's the way that you have accountability, is that people know what you're doing. If I'm doing things and people are not aware, then how can they hold me accountable? And so an example of that, I just told you, when we applied for the grant funding for Champions Park, we had community meetings so that people knew what we were doing and why we were doing it. And so that they were involved in it. So that nobody questioned where was the money supposed to go. Everybody knew up front. And that's the way that you create transparency and accountability. The other thing that I think is important to point out is personnel. We have to have competent, qualified, well-paid, well-trained personnel in every aspect of our government. Okay?
Well, I mean, how are you going to do that? The first thing that everybody says is, well, we poor and we ain't got nothing.
Well, again, the financial audit will tell us how poor we are.
Oh, or not.
Or are not. Okay? There is a thing called a pay study. What the pay study does, it goes in and it assesses every employee, right? To make sure that, one, whatever your job title or job description is, that you are being paid what you're supposed to be paid and you meet the qualifications. Okay? We need to do a pay study. But I will commit to the citizens of Prichard of bringing in a strong, competent, qualified cabinet.
Well, some people say it's time for a change. Some people say that it's time for a smart black woman to lead the city. And some people say that we can't have a woman. What do you say to those things, and what would your leadership mean for the next generation of Prichard residents?
I would say to the woman comment is that you had a woman running your home. We have a woman running our state right now.
Rima is definitely a woman.
We have a woman as a senator that represents Prichard. A woman in the House of Representatives that represents Prichard. We have a woman that is a commissioner that represents Prichard.
All of that is fast.
Okay, 70% of the households in Prichard are led by single women. So if we can lead our households, why can't we lead our city?
I would like to add,
Okay.
just because the conversation that keeps being had around whether or not the women can lead, I would like to add to that like you said, your household usually is ran by your mama, your grandmama, whatever. That's who runs the house. But I would also like to say that the largest demographic, the most highest educated demographic is black women.
It is. That's facts.
And so usually we are the ones with the most education in the room.
That's true.
No matter what man is our manager or what Becky they put in charge, it still is. So there's that. Okay, so we'll go back to interviewing you, but I just wanted to add that because I feel like that's insulting. But finally, if you could look directly into the eyes of every voter in Prichard, what would you want them to know before they head to the polls?
I want you to know that you have the power to change your lives. Not only your lives, but the lives of your children and your grandchildren. You have the power to make things better, and we can do it together. I'm here to serve. I'm not here to dictate. I need you as much as you need a strong leader in the seat of mayor. So on August the 26th, I'm asking for your vote for Carletta Davis as mayor of Prichard.
I am Ty Burton, and this is Port City Unplugged. We are giving the candidates the opportunity to speak directly into the citizens and for us to make determined and educated opinions and vote on August 26th. This part is like American Idol, right? My favorite part of American Idol is when you get to see everybody. You get to see all the good ones, the bad ones. You get to pick your one that you want. Like we rode with that boy from Mississippi. You pick the one that you want and you ride them all the way through to the end. And that's what you need to do with any of your candidates. This is the time. Be aware of the process, right? When you do the primary, you got all these people running, and then there's going to be 2 in September, okay? And then in November, those people will take over. So this is your opportunity to listen and pick your one. But don't vote for them because you're a cousin. Don't vote for them because they're a woman. You should vote for the person who you find to be the most qualified. And so I'm going to try to bring as much information as I can to you so that you can make informed decisions. This is Port City Unplugged.